What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning back in today. We got Ryan Aqua here from the recent OC One Piece Championships last weekend that he got top 16 with Whitebeard. Now, it's great to see this beast, the old man back into the top card of the format, and it was so awesome to see you go X and 1 or X and 2, I believe, through the day, Ryan?
Yeah, I went X2 and snuck
X2.
in at 16th place.
Yep, and that's awesome, man. It's a great achievement, especially with how the meta's going at the moment with Sakazuki and now and all that. So, yeah, man, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yep. So I took Whitebeard to the Nationals. Like we said, went X2. I played against six Sakazuki, one Katakuri, one Enel, and one Purple Luffy. So I did get pretty blessed on my matchups, taking this deck specifically because I felt like I had a bit of a favored match into Sakazuki, just with all the rush and the pressure that the deck can provide,
Yep.
and as well as having the defense and things like that. But um, just having rush available is just really good into Sakazuki because it doesn't necessarily matter too much if they start bottom decking your cards after you pass turn because you've already gotten the value for them, and then if they do stick around, even better. But starting off, we've got the leader back in full glory now that everything's been pretty much unrestricted, unbanned, and everything, which is good.
Yeah. Thank God, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Thank God now. So I ran four Nami and four of the Ezo. Just consistency within the deck, just to be able to search out the pieces that I needed. Um, Straw Hats and Whitebeard Pirates. So depending on what I needed in the situation, I was able to search them out, and they put a lot of pressure. If I was going first and was able to get a searcher down, I was able to go a 5k and a 6k swing because there's not really anything that you want to play for 3 Don going first. The Makino, again, just provides a lot of value with the one cost if they do stick around, and it's 2k counter, so you get a lot of value there. And then two copies of Robin. This was a bit of a late addition, and it was pretty much just to counter the 4 cost Rebecca that's currently in Sakazuki. Just gives us a really good option to remove that for 1 Don rather than them just getting a really value block or forcing us to try and use a Whitebeard 12k swing to remove it or anything like that, which just doesn't really seem optimal. But yeah, just a 1 cost way to remove Rebecca is really good. And no surprise to anyone, Sakazuki was going to be the most popular deck in the format. So yeah, it felt really good. Wanatama, it was. I was kind of umming and ahhing about whether I add the extra 2k Sanji or whether I add this card. It does pair well with things like the Marco and the 9 cost Whitebeard, but only running one, it can be a bit situational. But yeah, it felt fine. Like, I would have liked to have run two, but I just couldn't find the space. So one was good, and it did come up. I was able to Atama Marco Kuzan, which was really good. And then two of the Sanji, it's another 2k. I never played this. I didn't ever wish that I played it. It was purely just a 2k that's searchable off Nami. And yeah, I was considering running the third just so that I could find the 2ks when I need them if I whiffed on an event or something like that. Two of the promo Luffy, just in case I didn't have a 5 cost on turn 3 going first, or on turn 2 if I didn't have anything to play. Obviously, you want to put a lot of pressure against your opponent, and just a 4 cost 6k is still a good stat line. Again, searchable off Nami, so just trying to make it as consistent as possible. It did come up a little bit, but at worst, it's a 1k counter, so still fun. For Jozu, so the 2k counter that's searchable off the Ezo, and it can give you a rush option as well later in the game. I think it may have come up once over the weekend. I think it was on the side event on the Friday, which I ended up finishing 16th as well. So yeah, but mainly for the 2k, but still a lot of value with the rush. For the Marco blocker, like Sakazuki was going to be the most popular deck in the format. We did expect a lot of yellow, and Marco can provide a lot of good value into yellow. when they start playing some of their big bodies. You can block with Marco and pitch another Whitebeard Pirates card to essentially get out of the attack for one card. And when you've got 10 cards in hand, it gives you a lot of options to pitch to keep Marco around. But there's a lot of cards at the moment that can interact with Marco really well. Sakazuki can Houndblaze this quite easily, and Yellow can rest it with their new event card. But if you get two of them down, you can feel a bit comfortable to sit behind some of your events, and they got to commit done to remove Marco. Two of the 5 cost Marco. It wasn't a card that I expected to play a lot, and it wasn't one that I played a lot either, but it is a good 1k counter. When I played this deck on the side event on the Friday, I was running 3 4-cost Marco and 3 5-cost Marco. But after the event on the Friday, I decided to swap them, and it was fun. It's just a backup if you need to play a 6k body onto the field. And yeah, at worst, it's a 1k counter. But the really good cards within the deck is definitely the rush kind of package, I guess you call it. But it's just rush staples, I guess. The Luffy and the Ace both are phenomenal cards within this deck. Luffy just puts a lot of pressure on, and it can close out games that you kind of have no intention on winning purely because it can become unblockable. And Ace is just one of the best cards at controlling your opponent's board by minusing two things by 3,000, and then all of a sudden, a 1-cost that you played on turn 1 can comfortably swing into 5Ks and get free attacks. So Ace is really good. It's probably the MVP of the deck, just to kind of keep your opponent's board clear and limit the amount of attacks that they can put into your leader. 4 9-cost Whitebeard. It just helps keep you alive by giving your leader the extra 2k, and it's just such a big body. You need this. You need multiple of this against Enel, and it can be okay against Sakazuki, but they do have a lot of ways to get rid of it. Some of them not so valuable, some of them not too bad, but if they can establish their 4-cost Kuzan, then they can remove this quite easily. But if they start committing a lot of cards to remove it and you follow up with another one, then it can be a bit backbreaking. But yeah, just prevents you from taking life. You sit in an 8k leader and it's really comfortable with the amount of counter that you have in hand. And the events for Radical Beam, just the best event that's available in red and in any color at the moment. Guard Point and 2 Bad Manners. 2 Bad Manners felt good. Just helped to get rid of some of the dead cards because you do run a lot with a lot of the rush and things like that. So it does give you an option to get rid of those and still get the counter for them, I guess. Especially if you're tapped out, then your opponent can feel comfortable and try and math out the amount of counter that you've got, and Bad Manners can kind of throw them off a little bit, basically acting as another 2k and giving your dead cards essentially a 1k. So if they start anticipating that you've probably got some dead cards in hand, if they've seen you search for aces and whitebeards and things like that, and kind of removing that amount of counter from your hand, it can kind of throw them off. But yeah, it felt really comfortable. There was a lot of situations where it felt really good just to put a lot of pressure on my opponent, try and force them down to 0 life, sit behind a couple of events, and then close out the game with a rush Luffy. But yeah, it was a really strong deck in the current format. It was one that I played since the beginning of set 5. Not kind of anticipating it to have a good matchup into anything. It was just a deck that I enjoyed playing, and slowly tinkering the deck, it ended up getting a lot of favorable matchups to things that I expected to see. And I had a lot of opponents that hadn't played Whitebeard in a while and just didn't necessarily know how to play around it anymore. So that, yeah, worked out in my favor. I had a lot of good matchups throughout the day, and yeah, snuck in.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, look, it's that's the advantage I felt going into this meta with Whitebeard,
Mm,
right? Like, because red was such a dominant force in the first, like, say 3 solid sets Thought it was
Yeah.
still there, but it was starting to kind of die out a little bit. Zoro obviously was another deck that you had to really like, respect as well on that behalf. But
Mm.
going into this like with Whitebeard, as it is like a double-edged sword, you're going to kill your opponent or they're going to kill you, given the circumstances of what the
Yeah.
deck does. But like if played right, it can still be such a dominant force, and it's proven to be shown over the last weekend at our nationals with yourself and Leon. That you're the only two guys that did top 16 with Whitebeard, and it was just great to see. Like I said when I was on commentary, I was like, I've got to see my boy Whitebeard on there, got to see Pops in there, man. And when I came out there and kept asking you like where were you, how you were going, and you're like you were on a good run. I was like, man, this is looking good. So it was great to see Whitebeard back in there, man. Congratulations on that. Solid effort. And to get that
Yeah,
uncut
thank
sheet and
you.
everything, it's such a beautiful thing, right? To be
Oh,
part of.
absolutely. Yeah. It
Yeah,
was an amazing event. Yeah, I versed a lot of great opponents. Everyone was really happy for me, which was, yeah, it was great to see. Everyone was, yeah, getting around it. Everyone was pretty happy. It was
that's
good.
awesome. That's great, man. So yeah, man. Before we knock off, is there any shout outs you like to give there?
Shout out to the guys at East Leaf. We did a lot of training, a lot of practice. They helped me a lot refine the deck. Shout out to Elliot Chalmers as well. He helped me refine the deck also and gave me a bit of practice into that Sakazuki matchup. And yeah, shout out to PX3. I versed a few of your guys throughout the whole weekend on the Saturday and the Sunday. Great group of guys, great players. It was a really fun event. And yeah, shout out to you, Jimmy. It was great to see you again.
Man, it's always wonderful to see you, bro. Really appreciate that. We have a great relationship. All us DBS community boys, eh?
Yeah.
I've known each other for years, and we love it, man. We love it, and also doing well in One Piece. Funny enough, great players, man. You guys are. So it's good to still be able to collaborate on all this for profiles and such for all our viewers and get that viewing pleasure in.
Yeah.
So appreciate, man, that support. But yeah, man, thank you very much. We'll sign it off here. And yeah, remember, guys, to like and subscribe and to hit that bell to stay notified. And as always, we will see you on the next one. Cheers, Ryan.
Yeah. Thanks.